The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian Podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Monday, June 7th, folks, 2021. Good to have you with us. Episode 303 of the Anik and Florian Podcast. Ken Flo still has the Bruins hat on 2 weeks later. I missed you last Monday, man. You know, we have very few dark weeks, but last Monday, Memorial Day, circumstantially was one of them. And,
yes,
you know, I think I need more Ken Flo in my life, not less, if anything. So good to see you.
I know, man. I missed you as well. I'm sorry I missed the IG Live as well. But here we are, man. Excited for this big fight this weekend.
So where were you? The District of Columbia.
Yes, sir. I was helping out Mr. Ryan Hall, who's going to be on the huge Conor McGregor card. He's getting ready for a very tough Ilia Topuria, undefeated fighter, as a lot of people know.
Wow.
And yeah, it's going to be a good one, man. That whole card is insane, by the way.
What a fight.
I'll be there live.
No way. All right. Let's hope nothing gets in the way of that.
Yes.
Let's hope that fight stays together, because that'll be the first time that I lay eyes on Ken Flo in probably 3 years, honestly. If that
Seriously
holds, because randomly there have been times where you've been cornering people and I haven't gotten the call. So,
Yep.
All right. Well, we have a lot to get to today as we begin with headlines. A little bit of a recap on UFC Fight Night, Rosenstrike versus Sakai. We will also be joined by Dean Thomas, UFC analyst, coming up here in about 10 minutes. Always nice when we can have those Ken Flo victims on the show, by the way. Guys that Ken Flo beat in the UFC, and come on any goddamn time you want. Lozon Guida, open invitation. So, but before we get to Rosenstrike and Sakai, I'm doing it. We're not recapping Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. Not doing that.
Okay.
It was an exhibition.
Right.
It was an exhibition, right? So we'll talk about Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul a little bit, because that's actually a professional contest involving a former UFC champion. But what happened Sunday night in Miami is neither here nor there. But obviously, since we were last on the air, Longo and I spent a lot of time on this last Friday.
Yep.
Tyron Woodley, who has 5 UFC championship belts at home, former UFC undisputed welterweight champion, is fighting Jake Paul. And it's a close fight according to the betting line. And it's part of the impetus for booking Dean Thomas today to get some insight into the Woodley preparation. But I mean, Kenny, this landscape right now is crazy with guys chasing the dollars. But for you, I mean, what is your initial reaction when Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul gets finalized about a week ago?
You know, I'm not completely shocked. I know that they obviously had some words at the Ben Askren fight, which seemed like it was being set up, for a later date. And Tyron Woodley and I guess Paul happened to be in the same place, the right place at the right time.
Right.
I think that he is purposely trying to pick guys that he feels he can be competitive with. Maybe he's taken too big of a step here against Tyron Woodley. And for Tyron, it seems like, he's going to make millions of dollars, perhaps more money than he's ever made in his career. So I'm excited for him. I hope that he performs well. And I hope he wins, obviously.
If you were to try to take your skills to a boxing realm, 2007, 8, 9, 10, in that prime of your mixed martial arts career. And I know how good a boxer you were and how good your jab was and probably still fucking is, folks. But 10-ounce gloves, this is a totally different ballgame. And say what you want about Jake Paul. But one thing I can tell you is that he is working hard and he's boxing exclusively, right? Trying to chase a career as a professional boxer. So if that was something that was presented to you as a fighter in your fighting prime, what are the biggest challenges for you trying to take your striking to boxing?
Jeez,
see, this is not part of the pre-show meeting, folks. See, I'm just fucking hard today. Well, because I want to know.
Good question. No, listen, I think it is completely different, John. There's no question about it. I think for Tyron, he has had a history of sometimes, getting tired during fights, and boxing is a completely different type of conditioning than a full mixed martial arts fight. There are instances where you could perhaps rest in the clinch position or rest in that top position if you take someone down. So that's going to be a concern no matter what kind of athlete you are. It is a different type of conditioning.
Yeah.
And the way that you train really matters. If you're doing bullshit pad work or bullshit bag work, that has no place in a real boxing fight.
Right.
You better be very well conditioned and prepared to go hard for every round. Is it 3-minute rounds? Is that what they're doing? 3-minute rounds?
I believe it's 8 threes.
8 threes,
if I'm not mistaken.
So, I think that's nothing to sneeze at. And Tyron has to be prepared and make sure that he's doing the work and obviously making it focused around boxing and boxing alone. When you're in a mixed martial arts fight, you're doing a bunch of different things. Some things you're very efficient at and ready for. But boxing and strictly boxing for a guy like Tyron, who comes from primarily a wrestling background, is a challenge. There's no doubt about it.
So Jake Paul is going from being like a minus 150 betting favorite against Ben Askren to being like a plus 125 or so underdog right now against Tyron Woodley. And I will just say in closing on this that I give Jake Paul credit because we wondered aloud on this podcast whether or not the fight would materialize because of the needle, right? Would T Wood move the needle enough in terms of the promotion, and competitively, would that be the type of challenge that Jake Paul was willing to bite off? And I cast some doubt as to whether or not I thought Jake Paul would be willing to do that. I think it's the perfect challenge at this point in time. And again, there's an age component to this as well. Tyron Woodley, I believe, is 40 years of age. Cody Merrow telling me it's 190 pounds, 8 rounds, 10-ounce gloves. And yes, of course, Floyd Mayweather has offered to have Tyron Woodley join the money team and help him train. But we'll see what happens. All I'm telling you is that fight, August 28th, will get my pay-per-view money. Showtime Boxing will get my pay-per-view money on August 28th. I didn't buy the pay-per-view last night with Floyd and Logan. If it was not an exhibition and there were actually judges involved, I probably would have bought the goddamn thing last night. But the exhibition was not for me. Right. All right. I promised Ken Flo I would keep this wholly on or largely on real fights. We had UFC Fight Night, Rosenstrike versus Sakai. And I don't have your exact tweet, but I bring it up in the context of the co-main event. This power from Jairzinho Rosenstrike, the undeniable one-touch knockout power that seemingly Walt Harris does not possess, right? Because Walt Harris is so good early and so skilled on the feet, a tremendous kicker, but he just doesn't have this Derek Lewis, Jairzinho Rosenstrike type of power. What did you make of Rosenstrike beating Sakai in the main event? I guess I'll start there.
I think, for Sakai, it was clear that he did not want to try to engage with Rosenstrike. He was not just standing still as you should in a heavyweight bout. He was trying to move his feet. He was trying to move laterally. And there wasn't a whole lot going on early, but then once Rosenstrike found his mark, found his range, it was over pretty quickly. He landed it right on the temple, which hurt him, knocked him down. But for me, it was those follow-up strikes on the ground, man. They were absolutely brutal. That just put him out completely. You saw his legs go limp. That was the end of it. May have landed another, 2 strikes after that. But Rosenstrike's got some serious power, man. In regards to Walt Harris, I think that he does get off to a good start, and maybe he's not as precise or doesn't hit the right spots. I think he could possess that power, but for whatever reason, Rosenstrike, finds a way to get his body, his weight behind those shots, maybe better than Walt Harris.
Right.
And man, once he found his mark, that killer instinct kicked in, and it was a tremendous TKO over Sakai.
I've just seen a lot of these heavyweights rally against Walt Harris. Certainly Alistair Overeem was able to do so, and he was far more on the ropes than Marcin Tybura.
Yes.
But I just, in a broad generalizing way, I would say I don't think Marcin Tybura is holding up under Rosenstrike's power. I just don't see it. And I would also say Rosenstrike very deferential when it comes to the credit for this win to his American top team coaches. And certainly he has had some people been in his corner forever, but that alignment with American top team and Conan Silveira, who is really a strategist at his core, all it takes is one in the heavyweight division, and Rosenstrike is all of a sudden back in the mix. Not all that far removed from that Francis Ngannou result. So we congratulate him. Marcin Tybura over Walt Harris. Crazy to think, man. And I posted it on Twitter over the weekend. Only 7% of fighters in UFC history were able to amass a 5-fight UFC winning streak. And Marcin Tybura has won 5 straight fights at heavyweight. We talked about a physical transformation from him a few fights ago, just tightening up the core a little bit. And he's doing a lot of big things here all of a sudden.
He's turned things around. Not only does he look like he's in better shape, he looks like he's more technical, but he's taking the smart path to victory. He knows where he needs to be positionally for the most part, and did a great job of switching things up, putting Walt Harris on his back and doing what he needed to do there. But Marcin has just been fighting smarter, and he's on a great win streak because of it.
As I said, only 7% of fighters in UFC history won 5 fights or more. The question for the Anik and Florian podcast audience is Ken Flo in that 7%? And I'm just going to do a little pregnant pause here. I'm going to back up. You're goddamn right he is. Of course he's in that 7%. He won 6 in a row from April of 2007 to November of 2008. And in terms of minds thinking alike, our executive producer, Cody Merrow, literally chasing it as I'm chasing the same thing.
He's good. He's good.
So, yeah, Ken Flo's in that 7%, and don't you forget it. Also, I thought nice to see Santiago Ponzinibbio bounce back, unanimous decision over Caramel Thunder, Miguel Baeza. Gregory Rodriguez, I thought fight. Looked terrific against Dushko Todorovic. So all in all, a lot of heavyweight action, a lot of close fights, a lot of decisions, but UFC Fight Night, Rosenstrike versus Sakai is in the books. And we will have more on that, of course, coming up with Ray Longo. And if Dean Thomas has anything on that, of course, also 7 predictions coming up later in the main event challenge on UFC 263. But let's not keep a good man waiting. Let us get to Dean Thomas.
Yeah. What up?
There he is.
What's up, boys?
The great Dean Thomas now joining us live on the Anik and Florian podcast. What's good, man? What is on your head?
I'm a fake ass cowboy. So, every once in a while I gotta throw the little cowboy hat on. What's up, y'all?
It's literally a little cowboy hat. Like it looks way too small for your head.
It is.
It's one of those instances where if you're a long time Anik and Florian podcast listener, you have no choice then but to turn the video on. Yes. Well, it's good to see you, my man. I don't know what that background noise is, but do we sound clear to you?
Yeah, you're clear. I got some dude out there cutting the grass.
That's okay.
Is that okay?
That's quite all right. So I know there were a lot of people that were exceedingly happy for you when you got this gig as a UFC analyst, and not just doing the morning weigh-in shows, but as a bona fide analyst on the desk. You're our coach on the broadcast now, including the pay-per-views. File this under good things happening to good people, but it's so much beyond that in terms of your MMA mind. So I just wanted to start there and publicly congratulate you on the new gig, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. And you're right. A lot of people were happy, but none more happy than me because I needed a job. It's hard out there in these streets, man. I needed somewhere to work. So I was like, man, I got a job now. I'm good. I'm straight. Thank you, UFC.
So let me ask you this, though, and I appreciate the reply, but you know how capable an MMA analyst you are, right? I mean, Ken Flo could say the same thing, but was there any part of you that was looking at other guys getting these television obligations and thought at one point, like, hey, man, like, just give me that audition? Because I've always said to you, all you need is one shot and you're going to go get that job.
Well, it was a weird thing because, like, I always thought I could do it, but I never really wanted to. And so finally, when the opportunity came, and like, these guys used to call me all the time, like back when they were with Fox, like guys would call me all the time for information, and I would like supply information all the time. So then finally, when the opportunity came, I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot, but I didn't really care. And then when I went, I was like, man, this is easy. I mean, and not that it's easy. It's just like, it's easy for me because it's what I do anyway. Right. So like, when I'm home, I don't watch fights to be entertained. I can't be entertained by watching fights. I'm constantly studying and analyzing and breaking them down. So to be able to do that and share that information with people, it was a blessing for me.
Dean, you're one of the rare guys who has both competed in the UFC at a high level and has coached at a high level. For me, I think that's really rare. But what have you seen as far as the evolution since the point where you were fighting to the way the guys are fighting now? What has changed the most, you think, in your opinion?
Just the transitions. what happens in transition. Back then, like, even though it was always, in our generation, Kenny, like, we could do both, it was still it was still a lot of separation. It was still a lot of, all right, just jiu-jitsu class, then striking class, and then when you fight, you try to put it together on your own. But I think nowadays, the transitions of what's going on, and it's a lot more tricks. And I'll tell you what else, too, is that, Kenny, when we were fighting, like, if you did karate, you couldn't get away with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but now, like, there's so, like, we've been able to find the value in almost anything. So there's value in, like, different martial arts that you wouldn't have accepted back then. So we were able to find that, and, like, it's just, so it's really kind of a more open game, and just the transitions are so much different now and faster.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about, because you do work with a whole lot of fighters, and information, for me, information is king, right? The people who have the right information win. But it also goes both ways as far as what information you put out there, right? About your fighters or about what's going on. Has that been a challenge at all for you?
No, not really, because, I mean, and again, like, you're right, information is key. Like, the more you know about a fighter, the easier it is to really to figure them out. But at the same time, like, you can also use that to your advantage.
Right.
You can also say, all right, so they know this about us, so this is what we're going to give them. But now we can actually use that against them. So, like, if you know that, like, you're fighting a good wrestler, you go, all right, well, he thinks you're going to wrestle you, so now we're going to pop him. So, yeah. Right. So, like, there's a lot of, I mean, it's tricky. I mean, it's really just a chess match. I mean, all of this is just a chess match. And the ones who can compete and play chess under the lights better than the other fighter is going to win. It's not only just playing chess, but you got to be able to do it under the lights, under the pressure.
So Dean used to share some of his scouting report videos with me privately to sort of help me with the broadcast a little bit. And dude, that hip hop underlay, man. I mean, it's the hardest hitting hip hop. Like, my daughter Riley comes in and it's like, she thinks I cuss a lot. I mean, dude, but I love it. The way you would do it and the way you would break it down, man. And you're certainly a special MMA mind, sort of putting a bow on that part of things. How does the television work relate to your coaching? Anybody who follows you closely knows that you're more selective now. It's Jose Shorty Torres, Jillian Robertson. You're not an American Top Team anymore. You don't have this avalanche of athletes. How are you striking that balance right now?
Well, I mean, it's out, like, the funny thing is that now that I'm not with American Top Team, I think I get to work with more people. And that's always what I wanted, was to be able to share information and work with more people. So now I can go to different gyms. I had Lauren Murphy come in, and she's just a wonderful person to work with. Autumn Norton, I worked with her. I mean, she's another wonderful person to work with. So, like, now that I'm not with America, and I was just at Fusion over the weekend, and they have great fighters there. I go to Sanford every so often, and obviously, their reputation speaks for itself. So now that I'm not with American Top Team, I can actually get more information, and I'm learning more now than I was before, because when you're isolated to one ideology of training, it's hard to really grow. And then, so, like, that whole loyalty thing could actually kill you, because you're not evolving, because you're only sticking with what the information that's being presented to you. As Kenny said, information is key. But nowadays, I can travel, I can go to places. Everybody's like, yo, that's the dude from TV. Let him in. Right. So I can come in, right. I can give them something, they give me something, and I'm good.
No, it's great. It's great to hear that. And it's great that you found happiness and have this outlet. And I'm excited to see the coaching stuff as well. Excited to see what you can do with the athletes that you currently have. And a lot of things are moving in the right direction for Dean Thomas. I got a couple more things with you here. So Tyron Woodley is going to box Jake Paul. Oh. And I did an Instagram live with Ray Longo over the weekend. And one of the things that he was wondering aloud about was how much boxing you guys have been doing over the years, with 10-ounce gloves or otherwise. How many boxing rounds has Tyron Woodley accrued over the course of his UFC championship career?
So, the funny thing about Tyron is like, he's a wrestler, and he's always fought kind of like, backing up, blitz you with the right hand. And that was the way he fought. But honestly, the most thing we did in camp, the only thing he really ever liked to do was box.
Yeah.
That was it. So, like, he would go to he has his own, he'd have his boxing coach, and he would just box and box and box. But then when the fight came, you had all the other elements, kicking, wrestling, and all that stuff. It changed his stance. It changed his outlook, his perspective of the fight. So you never really got a chance to see it. But all he really liked to do is box, which makes this camp easy for him, because this is what he wants to do anyway. This is what he loves to do. So I think we'll see a different Tyron Woodley. You know, we're going to see a guy who can actually put shoes on, wrap his hands the way he wants to.
Right.
You know, put the bigger gloves on and just straight up box.
So to what extent will you be coaching or cornering or helping him in advance of August 28th?
You know, Tyron's a real G, man. You know, this is my boy. You know, like, he called me yesterday, and because I haven't talked to him, you know, like, with all of the stuff going on, I didn't want to be another voice and be like, yo. So I let him alone. But he called me yesterday and was like, yo, man, you know, I got this opportunity. Everybody's reaching out to me. Mayweather and them reaching out to me, but I'm not leaving my dogs behind. He said, yo, I need y'all there with me. So, like, even if it's not like a coaching perspective, he just wants me around just because, like, we've been through the whole grind together.
Of course.
He doesn't want to leave me and be like, yo, I got all these new people now. So, like, that's my dog, man. Like, that's a loyalty that I can get down with. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even on an information thing. It's just, we've been through the struggles together. We've been in the trenches together, that now that he's getting his bag, he's taking me with him. So, like, I can appreciate that.
Well, and part of the reason why I wasn't afraid to ask the question is because I know how close you guys are. And even if he was going to proceed without you in some crazy world in which that might have happened, I know you guys would be classy and cool about it. So that's good to hear that you're going to be along for the ride, for lack of a better way to put it. I know you're not along for the ride. But this, I'd imagine, might impact your UFC schedule a little bit, because Tyron's going to need you, man. I mean, these are a very important week. Like, can I just say to you on behalf of the MMA community, like, can you guys go get a fucking W? Can we get that done, please?
Yo, man, I know, please. Man, trust me. I know, man. Trust me. I know how important this is. I really do. And we talked about it yesterday. You said, man, this win, not only can it change your life, but, like, it'll erase everything that's happened, that, you know, all the negativity from the UFC. It'll erase all that. So, like, it's so important. But it also, too, is that we can't underestimate these kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think everybody wants them to be bad, and they're not as bad as we want them to be, right? Because, you know, they're obviously athletic kids. They've probably fought a lot, each other at least, and then in the streets and with their buddies. So, like, they're tough. And, I mean, we saw last night, Logan, you know, he hung in there for 24 minutes with, you know, the GOAT. I mean, granted, he's older and was playing, but, like, he still did it. You know, not a lot of people can do that.
Right.
So, you know, I don't want to underestimate Jake Paul. So we're not going to underestimate him. We're going to take it serious and go at him.
So, and I have no doubt that you'll be watching whatever film there is out there on Jake Paul and trying to access as much information as possible. But can I just close the Woodley Paul conversation by asking, like, as we sit here June 7th, is your biggest concern like a cardiovascular based thing? Is it a technical thing, a size thing? What are your concerns right now as you guys lead up to August 28th?
You know, and this is one thing that was always a thing for Tyron. It wasn't the cardio. It's not the size. It's not the technique. It's just a matter of getting him to want to do it. And Kenny can tell you right now, like, if you out there fighting and you don't really want to do it, it's hard. It's hard to get motivated to be inside of a area where somebody's trying to kill you if you don't really want to be there. You absolutely have to want it. And, you know, his last couple of fights, I don't think he really totally wanted to be there. But now he's going to want to be in there against Jake Paul. So if he wants to be there and he's happy, you know, that's my biggest concern, is just making sure he's motivated to want to be there.
Well, he's got a good guy to help with that motivation, and Dean Thomas, who you can see on most UFC telecasts going forward. What do you got going on this weekend for UFC 263? You headed to the desert?
Man, I'll be out there with you. Are you going? I'll be out there. I'll be out there right alongside y'all, helping y'all break the action down.
I love it. All right. So you can catch Dean live on pay-per-view with us, and I would assume doing that morning weigh-in show prior. You got that in your plans as well? All right. So a heavy dose of Dean Thomas this weekend. I'll get you out of here on this. I know you can't give a prediction. You're going to be on the broadcast. But in terms of these two championship rematches and these underdogs, Brandon Moreno and Marvin Vettori, is there one guy who you maybe give a better chance to become the new champion?
Marvin Vettori. I think Marvin is there's no reason to believe that he can't watch the Jan Blachowicz fight and pick some things up and go, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that too. I can do that too. There's no reason to believe he can't see that and follow that blueprint and come up with a game plan of his own.
I like that. That's good analysis. My producer wants to know if there's a number for you and Ken Flo to do a rematch in a boxing setting. Is there a number? Like, do you guys have a number? Is it 7 figures? What's the number?
100 million.
We can do that. We can even split it, Dean, if you want.
All right.
Yeah, 100 million.
Let's do it.
Hey, you're a good man for hopping on with us, Dean Thomas, fucking legend. I'll see you in a few days in Glendale, my man.
All right, man, and make sure y'all come to my after party after the fight, man. I know you need that red eye.
I know I'm not flying a red eye out of Phoenix. I'll come to your after party. How about you? You have an after party like every city we go to. You had one in Houston. I mean, what's up?
Man, I'm just trying to meet the fans, man. Like, I feel so blessed to have the opportunity to be that I'm in it, and I just want to meet the fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't charge nothing. I ain't trying to charge nothing. I just want to meet the fans, so I'm making myself available to meet the fans.
All right. Well, you can see me and Dean Thomas at his after party Saturday night. In
All right,
Arizona.
Joe.
Man, Dino.
Thank you,
Y'all
brother.
be cool, man.
See you
Peace out.
soon.
Later.
There he is, Dean Thomas, with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. Great insight. And hey, if I can't have Ken Flo next to me, might as well have Dean Thomas. Hey, folks, Father's Day is just around the corner. You may have heard. You probably need a gift for a hairy dad. Am I wrong? If you've ever seen that cabbage coming out of your dad's nose or ears, this might actually be the perfect gift for Father's Day. So we've got a special deal for you, regardless of what product you want. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/AF. Get your dad a gift you know he will use. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com/AF. Manscaped.com/AF. Your dad will thank you. All right, let's get to the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
I'm not inclined to go there. Hey, Ray.
What are we doing?
How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
It's good to see you, man. Did you get a haircut? It looks like you got a haircut, no?
I think I had it, but what did we do the other thing? Friday? I had it Friday, yeah.
Okay.
I think I was just so dark, nobody could see anything.
Yeah. So center yourself up on that camera there. Yep. Wipe your nose. Perfect.
Dude, the allergies are, dude, they are brutal.
They're killing me. They've been killing me.
Dude, I swear to God, I was choking this morning.
Man. Well,
yeah, they're bad out here.
We'll get it all out of the way. This is all live on the show, by the way. This is all live on the show. Did I not tell you that?
It's Ray clearing his throat.
Yeah,
it is what it is. If people want to see me scratching my nose, they're going to get a lot of it.
So
Dad
we did
noises.
an Instagram live. Yeah, dad noises. You didn't make those noises when you were trying to find. All right. So we did an Instagram live on Friday.
You guys are off the rails.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Reel us back in. So we did an Instagram live on Friday, and coincidentally, that was the day we launched a new t-shirt at AnikFlorianPodcast.com. And I'm not doing this to drive you to the website, but the merchandise is there if you want to fucking buy some. So we launched these t-shirts with Ray Longo's face on it that said punch a hole in his bleeping chest, little AF monogram to make sure it's not a swear. And Ray sold several dozen of these t-shirts in the last 48 hours.
Really?
Yes, man.
I didn't get mine at the gym yet.
And Ray, do you know how much you make off of each of those shirts?
Yeah,
Zero.
exactly.
You know how much we make? All of it.
Exactly.
Woo! No,
John.
actually, we are.
I did those shirts before too at the gym.
Yeah,
and they sold right out, and then I never did them again because people were asking me, "Can you say I do it?" I've never once repeated that line. I just can't do it. It really actually wasn't.
Once is all they get.
Yeah. Once is all they get. Because then during the pandemic, Matt's like, "Do that." What's that thing where you do
Cameo?
Cameo, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
And
Ray.
I was like, "Yeah, this is great. Tell her to call me." And then he says the one I think I went through this on the podcast. He goes, "Yeah, well, they'll be calling you, asking you to say punch a hole in his fucking chest." I'm like, all right, I'm not doing it. I got the poor girl called. I never called her back, and maybe I'll do it. I don't know, but I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole, man.
Right. Well, you just kind of said it there for our audience. And I would think if there was ever a place for you to just utter that one line one time for Cody to have a drop it in the show, although he could just pluck it from the UFC.
The drop is perfect.
But we now own that line as well, Ray. I just want to
right. Well, no, there's a lot of Ray Longo.
We've trademarked it.
There's a lot of Ray Longo supporters out there. And yeah, you get some interesting requests on Cameo. You should see some of the things that I've been forced to say for money. But I don't promote that because I have a little bit of a philosophical issue with charging fans for a recording, but it is a great way to connect with fans, I did one last week. Kenny, this kid turns 21 years old, and I'm doing, Casey's 21, and it's like the kid has the video forever, right? So it's like, it's a little bit uncomfortable. And I try to, strike up a personal relationship, but I can understand why there's value. So, all right. So, well, that's good. It was good to chop it up with you last week. We did a lot of Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley stuff. It was nice to see the UFC get back to work after a week off. How much of that UFC fight night did you ingest on Saturday night, my friend?
I think I saw most of the fights, except I missed the Aaliyah
Latifi Tanner Boser fight.
Yeah,
I missed that one as well.
All right, so let me ask you first about Walt the Big Ticket Harris, because everybody other than Team Tabora is essentially rooting for this guy, right? You probably have people in Poland rooting for Walt Harris because of his personal situation. But once again, sort of fell victim to things that have plagued him in the past. If Walt Harris was your athlete, what would you be telling him in terms of trying to get a win at this point?
Well, I tell him what I've told other guys. If I see you hitting the pads one more time before you start wrestling, that's really basically it. You gotta go to where your weakness is, and that's what you should be working, and that's all you should be working. Obviously, your striking is fantastic. You hit hard. He can put combinations together, but he's got a weakness on that other side. It's for him, it's cardio, and I think wrestling and jiu-jitsu. That's it. That's what he should have been focused on the last 5 years.
Right.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I just went through this with a kid in the gym who he's probably got one loss to a wrestler, but he just never, he's put the time in, but everybody loves hitting those pads, man, but that's 1/10 of what you should be doing.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of other things. You got to cover a million bases. So, I think that's where everybody because you love it and it feels good, they end up putting a lot of emphasis on that. And it's really, it could be a downfall.
And it looks as though he is going to try to relocate to Vegas. I don't know if that'll be a full-time thing, but he has tried to get different looks and gone to big camps and left Alabama. But it just is not working out for Walt Harris right now. And I love the guy so much in the family, Ken Flo, but it seems to me, relative to his natural gifts, that his UFC career has been of the underachieving variety. I mean, he has not lived up to the potential in my mind, given these last few fights.
How old is Walt
besides?
Now? Yeah. How old is he?
Mid-30s, probably 36. I'll look it up. Flo, go ahead.
I was going to say, besides him being such a great guy and such a good dude, you could see that he really has so much talent. I think that's what's so frustrating. It's not like he's not capable of doing it. And like Ray said, you got to go out there and work on your weaknesses. It's like, having a car with bad brakes and losing the race and going, well, I'm just going to add more horsepower. If I could just add more horsepower, I'll go faster. And you're ignoring the fact you need better brakes. So, yeah, I think for Walt, whether it's going out there and bringing guys into his camp or going to a different camp and really just focusing on his grappling, get the right wrestlers in camp, get the right, high level jiu-jitsu guys that are going to help you, that are going to give you the best information. And it takes time with the grappling, like anything, it takes time, but he's going to have to really put in that work. And like Ray said, I don't think it's a bad idea to go out there and just focus on your grappling for at least 6 months and literally just do that twice, 2-3 times a day, drilling, working on it, getting the right bodies and sparring partners and getting the right coaches for his jiu-jitsu and wrestling to take his game to the next level. He's absolutely capable.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had anything to add, Ray, but I agree
No,
with all of those sentiments. He will be 38 on Thursday. So Walt Harris will be,
that's not looking good.
And Marcin Tybura on the other side, 35 years old. What a beast, too. Not a heavyweight you want anywhere near your back. And he was able to pound Walt Harris out of there. And Ray, real quick, what'd you think about, you don't have to be real quick. I mean, this is your show. Everybody knows they want us to change the goddamn name of the program. Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Augusto Sakai. It would seem to me that the sharp handicappers who send out plays, most of them were on the Sakai side. But this one goes to Biggie Boy out of Suriname. What'd you think of Jairzinho Rozenstruik in the main event, kid?
Yeah, I thought he looked good. Very patient. Obviously, he's got, good power in each hand. And, he clipped him with a shot, and that was it. It was pretty simple, I think.
Seems like there is some motivation to put him and Curtis Blades together. I think that matchup makes some sense and certainly would be a stiff stylistic challenge there for Biggie Boy. But all right, we got bigger things to discuss with you, Ray. So again, I'm not trying to bring this program down into a morass of negativity, but I will just ask, did you watch Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul last night?
I tell you, there was, I did watch it. I did watch it.
He fucking watched it. Of course you did.
I did watch it. It was Sunday night. What am I going to do? I'm a junkie. That's
you are a junkie.
Did you use that needle? Did you? It was laying right in front of me. Of course I did.
Ray's sitting there on Saturday afternoon, chewing his nails.
I'll tell you what,
waiting for Claudio Puelles and Jordan Levitt to.
Let's just go through a couple of things. First off, it was definitely less painful than the last thing I saw with his brother. So they didn't have as much of the bullshit. So I think that was, and I just really was watching it for that fight. But I think it was less painful with the commentating and all of that stuff. I mean, the weirdness is, Brendan Schaub is talking to this guy before the fight, and they're talking about it could be one of the biggest upsets in sports history. I'm like, it's a fucking exhibition. The guy weighs 100. I'm like, this can't be happening. Is this the world we live in right now? Is this the world we live in? Seriously, it's an exhibition. Like this kid.
Yes, it is right.
5 rounds in the sparring match in the gym today. This will be the greatest upset in sports history.
We live in a world of hyperbole. It's just nothing makes sense anymore. It's crazy.
And the other guy's like, yeah, this is a dream come true. Yeah, it is a dream come true to be able to, spar a former great, one of the GOATs of all time. The problem is you're a 200-pound man sparring a 135-pound guy. I don't even understand that part of it. Like, that part was crazy. Conversely, I'm really gaining respect for Floyd because he looked like he articulated it perfectly. Look, I retired from fighting. I didn't retire from entertaining and making money. He goes, I had a ball. I had fun time. I'm 44 years old. He puts it in perspective. I get to jump in there with a couple of young guys, see where the heck I'm at. I thought he was spot on with what he said. Unfortunately, the other guy on the other side of the ring thought he was in the Super Bowl. That's where it gets crazy. I think Floyd had it perfect. Hey, I'm making money. This is what you want me to do. This is still entertainment. I'm cool with that. But the other guy took it as, you could even hear his corner. If you last one more round, all you got to do is last a round and you win. That's what the guy told him, I believe.
Yeah.
All you got to do is last a round. I don't need to do it. Did you see the size difference, though? I thought it was actually funny. It was, I don't want to say comical, but it was different, man. Was it worth $50? Yeah, I'll throw in $50 for that.
Ken Flo's been smirking for 2 minutes. Ken,
no, Kenny, no, it's not what happened. It's listening to everybody. I'm telling you, when Schaub had that guy on and they were, I'm like,
I want to hear what Ken Flo has to say.
Right? I mean, this is part. Is this part of the entertainment? It might have been. It might have been.
Exactly. It's silly. Like, again, for anyone who thinks that's like a real fight, or that, anybody, even if they have a 50-pound weight advantage, can go in there and just do okay against a boxer and call it a win is just, it is comical. It's silly. And that's my problem with it. It's like, okay, Floyd, you're saying that but then why are you doing the weigh-ins? Why are you doing the whole stare down thing if it isn't a fight? Like, you're making it look like a fight, but it isn't. You're certainly not going to say you're just doing it for the money prior to the fight, because you need to be able to sell people this thing. And everyone who is a follower of the Paul brothers, and there are millions of them, are going to count that as a win, and they're going to validate themselves as these badass dudes who have been doing these badass YouTube videos for years. And it's silly, but this is the world we're living in. It's not. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all about advertising. It's all about how you can make the most amount of money. And hey, it's not my cup of tea, but hey, if that is, then congratulations to those guys. They're making a shitload of money.
Yeah,
cool.
Making a shitload of money. And again, now we know if that's what, because I'm saying the weigh-in and all that, that's all part of the show to me. They want the pushing, they want the shit talking. That's part of the entertainment process, I believe. I don't know. I don't look. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know why anybody, look, even sanctioning. So what do? I mean, the athletic commission's another problem. They're there to protect you, right? That's all we hear. They're here to level playing field. So there's no decision. The only way you can win is by knockout.
Right.
I mean, so who are you protecting? Like the only way you can, it's even worse. You can't even win by decision, so you have to go for the knockout. So who are you protecting? The guy's 200 pounds, the other guy's 150. Oh, let's call it an exhibition, and everybody will think you can't get knocked. What is going on? I don't even know. I swear to God, I found it funny, but so now we know if that's what he's going to say, then we know the next time is definitely pure entertainment. I thought he always had it as entertainment in his head,
In a couple weeks, I'm going to be racing Usain Bolt, guys. I don't know if you guys are interested. I'll be calling it a win because I crossed the finish line. So.
Hey, I mean, Ray, I agree with a lot of
a
lot of what you're saying. I mean, hey, you're the guy who revolved his Sunday night around this exhibition. Ken Flo and I didn't even watch it. No, but
let me tell you something. I had such a busy Sunday. I didn't even move off the couch. I couldn't even get away from that. I swear to God, it was hot out, and I was done, man. I was done.
Floyd Mayweather. I loved him as a boxer. I got the money team hat to prove it. One of my all-time favorites. I remember spending money to take my family out to see him fight Sugar Shane Mosley because I wanted to make sure everybody got to see him once live in his prime. And, that fight went down not unlike a lot of his career. Started a little bit slowly and then went on to dominate Shane Mosley for 9 or 10 rounds. But, Kenny, the only thing I would just say, it's a total exhibition, and that's why I'm totally disinterested, right? But Floyd must be convinced without a shadow of a doubt that whether it's that exhibition in Asia or this one, that he's not going to get knocked out, because there is a chance in that setting that you do get knocked the fuck out and your legacy does change.
He's a master boxer. Okay. He has developed his skills to such a high level where he knows he's not going to get, when you see a guy like Canelo, okay, one of the best boxers in the last, several years, just whiffing and not being able, landing a handful of punches throughout, a full length bout. One of the best guys, can't even touch him. Even at 44 years old, I mean, Floyd is going to have that same type of confidence, be like, you don't get to hit me. That's what makes him such a master boxer. You do not get to touch me at any point, and I'll score just enough to win.
But I do think Logan Paul has a better chance of knocking out Floyd Mayweather than submitting Kenny Florian in a jiu-jitsu match, right? Like, there's no way he submits.
I don't know, but
I'm just saying the puncher's chance.
He wouldn't submit me, but
is the puncher's chance thing.
I agree with you, John. And I'm going to tell you something. I was in Japan for the other fight, and he attacked that kid. He just beat the piss out of him. And that kid was smaller than him. But I'll tell you, this time he didn't take. I will say this. I don't want to make it like it was a real fight, but he took no chances at all in this fight.
Right.
He couldn't really get near the guy, and he couldn't rough him up on the inside because of the size difference. And he just, he did. It was whatever it was. I don't know. To call it anything or to discuss it from a, like a real professional manner would be stupid. Right. But I mean, it was he's good enough to not get hit and make it like a WWE type of thing. You know what I mean? Like where he could go in there and walk that guy around for sure. But he wasn't taking chances. He wasn't having an easy time getting in. He doesn't want to get hit. He said it. Health is more important than anything. He's not stupid. And again, I guess the people like myself that bought it is stupid, but If you were entertained by it,
There you go. All right.
you know,
That's a bow on that. I am alarmed and amazed and
that's too much time.
disappointed that we spent that much
Yeah,
time
yeah,
on
yeah.
that. And Ken Flo is going to be motherfucking me to his
No,
wife in
that's
about 30
horrible.
minutes.
Nah.
Am I the only one swearing today, incidentally? So, hey, real quick on the foul, explicit language front, okay? This is going to be my final statement on this, okay?
Yeah.
I've been trying to swear a little bit less, whether it's on social media or on the podcast. You can see I am failing miserably at this initiative, right? But it's the way I talk. Like if Kenny and I are talking after the show, or you and me, Ray, it's like the F word is every other word out of our mouths. So
Yeah.
if
It's
that's
definitely
the
a Boston
guy,
thing, I think.
I think there's some of that for sure.
Yeah.
But that's the guy that I want to be when I'm talking with my friends on a podcast. So if I am trying to not cuss in this setting, then I'm not really being me, and I'm not getting that respite from television work that I'm looking for in this medium. So if you don't like the swears and your children are listening, I'm sorry for that. I'm really fucking sorry.
Yeah, listen, Kenny, Kenny, you'll probably agree with me. I don't even notice it. So it's not even. It's
Well, you don't
I
have
know
young
that's the
kids,
thing.
too.
It's very much a Boston, New York thing. I feel like.
yeah, I
It's-
don't.
It's
I
it's a
swear
part
to
of the language, a part of the culture.
Yeah, I don't notice a thing. To be
Well,
honest
some
with you.
MMA
Yeah.
fans, though, have said recently that there's all this content for this sport, all this great content in mixed martial arts. And it's the only sport where there's nothing out there that's clean. If you think about it, if you have a son who's ingesting your everyday NBA podcast, there's a much better chance that that doesn't have explicit language than an MMA podcast. So we have all these young MMA fans, and you have parents who are out there trying to find content for them. And it's like, well, can't listen to the Anik and Florian podcast because Anik doesn't stop swearing, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot worse things going on.
I
than
know,
you
of
heard,
course. I
John.
swear
Let
in
me
front of
tell
my
you.
children, and I would say
How
respectfully.
about this? I think these little millennial pussies need a little cursing in their
There
life.
you go.
How's that?
With you.
I think they need it because I tell you what, they're not toughening up any other way. Maybe this will help them.
And if we were on the radio,
Oh.
we'd say, you don't like the swearing, just move on down the fucking dial. Plenty of choices down there. All right. A couple things on UFC 263, and then we will get you out of here. When is your next UFC travel, by the way? You will not be there with Matt the Steamroller Frivola in Glendale. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I'm assuming it'll be September.
Okay.
Hopefully
So-
with Rob, and then Aljo's back in town for a while.
Right.
He's looking at November, I believe.
Hey, how was the team dinner?
Let me tell you, that Marab, I can't speak enough of that guy. He was able to get 20 knuckleheads together. And it took him about 7 weeks because I'm like, Marab, you have to pick a date. You're never going to – I can't get 3 people together. But I don't know if people put up clips or anything. I don't know really what went out there. But, wow, he was just – he hooked – I guess he rented out a Georgian restaurant in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, and we just – had a ball. We rallied around that guy. He's just so proud. And again, to me, he's the definition of the American dream. He came here with absolutely jack shit, couldn't speak the language. He owns a house now in Massapequa, which isn't easy to do, at his age, no matter what path you take. And
he actually built it.
He could build it. Yeah. I'll never worry about Marab. You know why? Because he's not afraid to work, John. That's the difference. He was doing construction while he was fighting. Now he finally gets to take off. But if something went south tomorrow, he just goes back to working. It's not a problem. He's a hardworking guy. He's got a great work ethic. And I said it like during a speech that night, he really has become the heart and soul of this team. I think everybody should look up to this kid. I don't want to hear any whining. I don't want to hear, I can't do this. I can't do that. Fuck it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he is really the definition of just hard work pays off. And just was a great time. It was. I hadn't seen Matt in a year. How weird is that? That's what I'm saying. Like you don't realize what this thing has done. There's people you haven't seen for a year, over a year. So it was good. I think, Marab, I really think after it, he felt like he had to get the team back together because I think the pandemic and the quarantine really has ripped us a little bit apart. Not like on purpose, just the way everything happened. People had to scramble to get training places. And I think he did a great job, man. I felt great. I felt great that night. It was just a feel-good type of night.
That's really cool to hear. Crazy to think that you and Matt had that type of separation. I've had more than my Matt Sarah fill here during COVID-19, every other trip to Fight Island.
Well, I mean, I'm
With that guy.
talking to him every day.
No,
but
of course,
I
of
didn't
course.
see him.
So, all right, a couple things on UFC 263. I did see your guy Frivola while he trains primarily in Tampa. He did make a pit stop there in Garden City during this training camp. I saw you guys
No, he
working
did
out.
I think he did his first couple of weeks, and he did his last 3 weeks here. No,
Okay.
I spent some time with him.
All right, so talk to me. I mean, give me some intel.
No.
He's Frank Camacho on the other side. You got to think he's going to be a little bit in risk mitigation mode at times, right? A little bit more conservative than we've seen in the past. What do you think about this Frivola Camacho matchup before we move on?
I'll tell you, first interesting thing, George, because I was talking to Matt the other day, was when they were originally supposed to fight, Matt was the underdog. And now, all this stuff, who tested positive, who got what, why the fight got canceled. Now he's a huge favorite. Right. So I think that's pretty interesting. And of course, I guess Camacho got knocked out at least one time, or maybe more. I didn't really look at it, but Frivola is a really, really well-rounded kid, man. He could do everything really good. So I expect a huge fight out of Frivola. I don't think this fight will be a problem. He's a complete MMA fighter, and I think Camacho's more just on the boxing heavy side. But in his fights anyway, he likes to throw.
Yeah.
But I think Frivola's again the more well-rounded guy, and I think he'll implement a really versatile game in this fight.
I'm excited to see it. All right, and then quickly on the 2 title fights, we spent a lot of time talking Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards, by the way, on our Instagram Live. You can access that video right now. This Nate Diaz price can flow. I mean, plus 355, Leon Edwards minus 500, and we're going to get to it in the main event challenge. I know it speaks to how good Edwards is, and maybe it speaks to some of the scar tissue that Nate Diaz is dealing with, but Nate Diaz with a plus 355 next to his name just looks crazy to me. But title fights, Ray. I mean, do you expect we might see a new champion, either Brandon Moreno or Marvin Vettori, or you think it's going to be a chalky weekend with Israel Adesanya and Davison Figueiredo holding serve and keeping the belts? What do you got?
Man, I think we could see a weekend of upsets.
How about that?
I think so. I think Brandon Moreno, I think he tasted that guy's power in the first fight. I mean, it was his first title fight. Man, these are close, though. I mean, I don't know. Figueiredo's really good. Adesanya's unbelievable. But I think they're going to be 2 worthy challenges. I could see it going, both fights going in the way of the challenger. I think Moreno definitely had his spots in that fight. I think he could make some corrections that would help him. And Figueiredo is a man. I don't know. It's good. I didn't break it down. Let me hear Kenny. I'll work off of him.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, Figueiredo, right? You got to start with the fact that he's like 20-1. Hey, so at this team dinner, we'll get you out of here on this.
Yeah.
Because I'm making Ken Flo save his bullets, with all due respect.
Oh, okay.
So there are 2 sides, right and left. Who got to sit next to Ray Longo at the Sarah Longo team dinner? Who'd you sit next to? You don't remember. Must have been.
No. To my right. Wait, hold on a second.
Oh, there's the team photo, Cody.
To my right was definitely Iaquinta.
Nice. That's a good draw right there.
Yeah.
Was he raging? Was he drinking?
No, he was quiet. Oh, yeah. And I had
prefer
shout out to Paul Harrison, the Hulk. He was on my left. I mean, if I forgot him, I would have felt.
Husamar Poliadis was there? Did you say?
What was that?
Sorry. Oh, Paul Harris.
Yeah. The original Hulk.
Got it.
The original Paul Harris. Yes.
Yeah, the original Paul, the original Slim Shady.
Right, excuse me. Well, great stuff. It's great to see you. Enjoy UFC 263. And I guess unless you have anything further, we'll break it down with you next Monday.
No, I got to figure this lighting thing out, man. I'm upset. Yes. I'm looking at like a dark figure. You guys look awesome.
We can't see the baby blues, Ray. What's going on?
Plenty of light, and I'm over here. I don't know what I'm doing.
All right, well, that is your challenge for next week. You look it up at your wife. She's not going to help you.
And I was looking at the window over here. Maybe I'll move the the light's facing me.
All right, well, that's your challenge. Next week is a huge show for us as we recap UFC 263. So
I'll be ready, man.
All right,
let's do it. Man.
That's
shout out to Frivola, man. Maddie's going to do it. I think he looked great at the end of this camp. So it's going to be a great night.
Hey, if I was getting married this weekend, you'd be a fucking groomsman. I love you. Have a great week. We'll talk to you in a week.
See you, Ray.
I'll get married soon while I'm still alive because
I'll see what I can do.
That's not looking good.
I have to get divorced first, and then we'll work on the second marriage.
Oh, I thought you were marrying Kenny. Sorry about that.
No.
Oh, I'm too big a fan. I'm too big a fan. It's like not a two-way relationship. It's like,
could you get through the ceremony if you were marrying Kenny, or will you be just stuttering all over yourself? What do you think?
I mean, every Monday,
we'd both be crying.
I'd be crying.
Yeah. Every Monday when I go into the StreamYard chat room and he's there, it's like I'm just happy he's still.
Oh, look at him! I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. Very nice. All right, guys, take it easy.
See you, right.
See you next week, champ. You know, Ray Longo, as we welcome in our executive producer, Cody Merrow, he's kind of like a microcosm for mixed martial arts. It's like you really don't know what you're going to get every time you give him a hot microphone.
You don't know what you got till it's gone. And that's what we get with Ray sometimes. That's why we had to give it to him last week. People are getting mad at me. They're like, oh, what are you, the clickbaity headline, whatever. But hey, people are clicking on Ray.
And there seems to be this groundswell of support for a show name change. They want, if they can't have it AFL, Anik Florian Longo, they want it to be the Anik and Florian podcast featuring Ray Longo. I mean, obviously the t-shirt sales speak to just what a star he is, but we got to get to the pronunciation of the week because UFC 263 beckons this weekend. So in the nature of not burying the lead, Cody, you're 2-5 on the year. This man will fight Hakeem Dawodu in what is an outstanding featherweight prelim on ESPN. Only reason we're actually not predicting this fight is because the boys are already making 7 picks today. I'm trying to be nice about it. PFL fight week 2 as well, Ken Flo. Am I wrong?
That's right. That's right.
Jesus
Featherweights and lightweights.
Christmas.
And Clarissa Shields making her MMA debut as well. Yeah.
There you go. All right, Cody. This man is Russian. He's 4-0 in the UFC thus far. Of whom am I speaking, Cody?
No shortage of MMA this weekend, but this fighter entering the Octagon's name is Movsar Evloev.
Movsar. Okay, I can assuredly tell you
go.
that first name is not accurate. Let's hear Movsar.
Movsar Evloev.
All right, so here's what I want to do. If you could be so kind as to play it one more time, and then Ken Flo's going to give it a shot.
Movsar Evloev.
Movsar Evloev. That's tough. Evloev.
All right, so neither of you heard that V in his first name, but we do go Movsar. And I can tell you, the UFC play-by-play announcers pronounce the last name differently. So I sort of say Evloev, right? Yeah. Evloev is passable per Michael LaPlante and Zach Candido, our producers, but I actually go Evloev. But either way, you made it easy on us today, Cody. As beautiful a man as you are, you're 2-6 as far as I'm concerned.
That's tough. That was a tough one. I screwed that up bad.
My Caucasianness helps my beauty and not my pronunciation. So that's why I can't roll my S's and R's. Like, I'm way too white for that. I'm sorry.
You're actually pretty good at this, though. You're way too good at this to be 2-6.
I know. That's the same thing with my NFL handicapping. I mean, I just can't catch a break on the show.
You
notice how he has his Veracity Media Group logo, right?
I put a logo for everybody.
Exactly.
What do you mean? This is self-promotion.
No, I know.
Jeez.
We appreciate every last bell and whistle out of you. And
I'm just trying to get the bees a win, John. That's all. I'm sacrificing the pronunciation of the week.
Tonight, it's got to happen.
Get the bees a win.
Well, what you guys know, and our listeners may or may not know, is that at this point in time, with the Red Sox sweeping the Yankees this weekend and the Islanders and Bruins being 2-2, I've lost a lot of money betting against the Boston teams over the last few days. Lost about $1,000 this weekend betting on the Yankees. So we'll be chasing New York on Tuesday night. All it means to an end, though, right? Just wanted to purchase that Red Sox sweep in the Bronx, and we got it done. All right, Cody Merrow, our executive producer, thank you for the time as always. All right, time for some predictions. And from flyweight to middleweight, there will be no shortage of action during this weekend's UFC 263 live event. And DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, has a heavyweight offer for this weekend's fights with 100-1 odds. One headlining fighter will walk away with the belt, but will you be walking away with the cash? All you need to do, pick the main event fighter you think will win. Adesanya or Vettori, and DraftKings Sportsbook will give you 100-1 odds on that fighter. That's right. Bet $1 on select fighters. If they win, you win $100 in site credits. No better way to put your MMA knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. And if by chance mixed martial arts is not your cup of tea, not to worry. DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on basketball, hockey, and so very much more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. And here's all you need to do to get involved. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ANIK when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in site credits when you bet on a main event fighter to win. Place your bet. Watch the fist fly this weekend. That's code ANIK to turn $1 into $100 in site credits by hitting on the main event fighter to win. For a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Winnings paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. All right, UFC 263, Adesanya versus Vettori II, Saturday, June 12th, live on pay-per-view. Let's get to the main event show.
It's the main event challenge. Anik.
The time is most definitely now.
Florian.
I finish fights. I'm going to do everything possible to win.
The main event challenge. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
All right, well, I love everything about this program, but I think my favorite thing about this show is predictions during a pay-per-view week. Not because I just get to lay back in the cut and have you guys do all the heavy lifting, but this is really what I enjoy the most, is seeing two credentialed handicappers like yourselves pick the biggest fights that we put forth. With that, we welcome in the Duck. He is Ian Parker on social media at Ian Parker MMA. Been a long time since you guys went head-to-head, but Ian, the last week that you guys did so, maybe 3 weeks ago, you beat Ken Flo 4-0. So the Team Anik lead is 66-49. Ian.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good lead for June 7th, my man.
Yeah. Kenny, you okay?
Son of a bitch. The son of a bitch has been on fire.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's been a nice little run. But you know what? Look, this is a good opportunity. This has got a lot of potential upsets on this card. So I wouldn't be surprised if you went on the underdog situation.
I'm gonna try.
Ken
Flo, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Of course, recently welcoming a baby boy into the world and making predictions from the delivery room. But hey, man, I mean, this is not the place you go for sympathy, okay? And again, for our great listeners and viewers, if you do have a suggestion for what the punishment, presumably for Ken Flo, at the end of the year for losing the main event challenge to me and Ian and all of our great cappers, at AnikFlorianPod, let us know what he should do. We need a good punishment because it would make the week-to-week a lot more fun. All right. First pick for us, Ian, we'll start with you. Women's flyweight fight. Eliminator here could produce the next title challenger for Valentina Shevchenko. You got Joanne Calderwood -134, Lauren Murphy +106 per DraftKings Sportsbook. IP, who do you have?
You know, I've been going back and forth on this one a little bit. And, you know, based on the style, on the hesitancy of Joanne Calderwood, I'm going to go with Lauren Murphy here. I kind of like what I've seen lately out of her with her striking. I also like what I see when she gets into someone's guard on top. She's not just sitting there and she's trying to finish people. And this resurgence in her career, I think there's some value here in the underdog. And it's funny, I just joke about Kenny taking underdogs and right off the rip, I take one. So I'm going to roll the dice on Lauren Murphy in this one. I just think that unless Calderwood strikes her early and gets Murphy on her back foot, I just think the aggression out of Lauren lately is what's going to get it done. So I like Lauren Murphy in this one.
And if you don't know, our scoring system rewards underdog selections. And I think you hit on a lot of truths about Lauren Murphy. She's that hardest worker in the room type as well. She's won 4 in a row. The naysayers, Kenny, on the Murphy side point to the lack of the big name wins, right? Andrea Lee was on there. It was a split. She was supposed to fight Cynthia Calvillo last October at UFC 254. Fights the newcomer Lilia Shakirova. So not a signature win per se. And then on the other side, Calderwood does have a signature win. 2 of her last 3 look great against Jessica Ai on Fight Island. Calderwood, Murphy, Ken Flo, who do you have? Ken Flo's on mute. He loves women's MMA.
I'm sorry.
What do you got?
Hey, so this is one of those ones where I thought I'd be able to steal one from Ian, but he's sharp and he knows what he's doing. And went with Lauren Murphy. I'm going to go with Lauren Murphy as well, because I feel like the kind of fights, and Ian alluded to this, the kind of fights that give JoJo trouble too are those kind of grimy, nasty fights. And I think that's what Lauren Murphy does really well. If the person is more technical, and I do think Calderwood is going to be the more technical fighter, but as we know, the more technical fighter doesn't always win. And I think Lauren Murphy has a way of making it a very physical and nasty fight. And I think that's when she's at her best. I like Lauren Murphy here as well. Damn it, Ian.
All right, both guys like Lauren Murphy, as I mentioned, plus 106 on DraftKings right now. We will see if that number changes, and we'll see who closes as the betting favorite. All right, next up, boys, at lightweight, Drew Dober, minus 130, Brad Quake Riddell, plus 105. Got a feel for Riddell. If you don't know the history, I think his career, at least recently, has been as impacted by COVID-19 and quarantine restrictions as anyone. Spent a ton of time away from his family with all the quarantine thing. He was supposed to fight Gregor Gillespie, Ian, as you know, in March. The fight goes away due to COVID-19 on the day and then was not turned around. But he is 3-0 in the UFC. He can take Drew Dober's number 13 ranking if he wins this weekend. What do you think about Riddell and Dober under the lights in Arizona?
I'm absolutely shocked at these odds. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Dober should be at least minus 185 here. I don't care how bad he lost in that last fight to Islam. That doesn't speak on his overall resume and the type of fighter he is. Islam, everyone's talking about this guy being the next Khabib, right? So we can't just base it off being out-wrestled and submitted by him. I think Dober is the better athlete here. I think he's the better striker here. And I think he's fought higher-level competition. I actually think this is a nightmare matchup for Riddell, especially after all the circumstances he's been through. You know, if this was like a minus 300 on Dober, I would say pump the brakes a little bit, but at minus 130, so hard to not take him here. I love his evolution of his striking, not just being a wrestler. Give me Dober.
Ken Flo, Dober no longer in the title picture because of that one-sided drubbing at the hands of Islam Makhachev. But again, that is where a lot of lightweight winning streaks are going to go to die. And of course, prior to that, it was the 3-fight knockout streak for Dober. I'm certainly higher on the Riddell total package than I think Ian is, but I do believe Dober deserves the distinction as the favorite. How do you cap this one?
Yeah, listen, I think Riddell has faced some good competition for his first 3 fights in the UFC, but have been favorable matchups for him. I think a guy like a Drew Dober, as Ian mentioned, is a tough stylistic matchup for him. Styles make fights in this. We hear it all the time. It is very true. While I do think Brad Riddell can win this if he's able to keep it on the feet for the majority of this fight, I think Drew Dober is still kind of dangerous there as well. It's not like Drew can't strike. And he is going to be the superior wrestler here. And at the very least, he'll be able to get it to the clinch and slow things down and can definitely bring it to the floor if Riddell is getting the better of him consistently on the feet. So I like Drew Dober here as well. I think he has more paths to victory here. I think he's got a lot of experience. I don't think Riddell has faced someone quite like a Drew Dober yet in his UFC career. So for that reason, I'm going with Dober as well.
All right, we are aligned on the prelims. Now we get to the pay-per-view opener to be contested at 205 pounds. Jamal Hill, minus 305. Paul Bear Jew Craig, plus 235. Ian Parker loves the Bear Jew. Loves the nickname as much as I do. You can be sure I'm going to say that as many times as humanly possible on the broadcast. IP, Hill, Craig, who do you have?
I do love that nickname. I never pick him, and I'm not going to pick him. I think Jamal Hill is, look, I think Paul Craig is excellent off his back. He's good on the ground. And I think against someone like Shogun, you know, the age played a factor, his aggression played a factor, and so did his cardio. However, I think Hill's the real deal. I think he is a solid prospect. I actually thought he was going to fight someone higher ranked than Paul Craig, especially after his last win over OSP. And I just think the sky's the limit for this kid. You know, I think Craig is going to get slept. I hope not, because I would love to have that nickname just keep on a winning streak. It's fantastic. Right. And if you could rock that nickname, you're a badass. But he's not winning this fight. I like Jamal Hill here.
And the nickname's a gym secret. So as much as we have tried to pry something on Bear Jew, haven't been able to get anything. So Jamal Hill, coming off that stoppage of Ovince St. Preux last December, he is an undefeated fighter. Craig was undefeated when he debuted in the UFC as well. That was 2016. Kenny Paul Craig, 11 UFC fights now worth of experience. Unbeaten streak is now 4 for him. Hasn't lost in 2 years. You giving Craig any shot against Jamal Hill?
I think you meant Craig. Yeah, as they say.
Can I just say on that, Ken Flo, by the way, we had a conversation because Paul was Craig for a while on the UFC telecast.
Oh, okay.
And of course, the Scottish people did not like Craig, right? Like an American Craig. So they're looking for Craig. And my boss was like, you ain't going fucking Craig. So find a middle ground, which is Craig.
Yes.
And I digress.
His pronunciation.
Got it. Yeah, exactly. I love it. Listen, I think that Craig has gotten much better. I think he has improved his striking. He's a tough dude. Especially if he's able to get on in that top position with his takedowns. I just don't see him doing this here against Jamal. I think Jamal's going to be the better striker. The way that he moves, I think he's created a style that's very unique and that's very much his own. And that's when I think you're doing martial arts at the highest level. And I think that he does have a lot of potential. And I think this is another great fight for him to build up his resume, to get more experience, and to get a win here over a tough Craig. I just don't see Craig getting it done here. I think Jamal is a little bit too fast, too slick, and I see him getting the win potentially by finish.
It's interesting when you talk about having your own striking style, because when I asked Israel Adesanya what most impressed him about Jan Blachowicz going into their fight, he paused for about 30 seconds, and then he said probably that he has an awkward striking style that he has made to be his own and made to work. So I think that was very interesting. So, all right, so Jamal Hill and Paul Craig there on pay-per-view. At welterweight, boys, Bilal Muhammad, minus 265, trying to come through for this channel against Ken Flo's guy, Damian Maia, plus 200. Ken Flo's got to be a little bit convicted. Gives Bilal a show on his channel. Damian Maia is his buddy. Let me set this up a little bit, and then I will lay out for you guys. So Bilal's won 4 in a row, or had, going into the Leon Edwards no contest. So it's an unbeaten streak that is pretty long for Bilal. He has always chased this Damian Maia challenge, and I would say be careful what you wish for. But now the timing has worked out. He draws Maia, who is 43. Damian hasn't fought since that final pre-COVID-19 show in Brasilia. That was March 14th, 2020, a loss to Gilbert Durinho Burns. Prior to that, of course, Ian Parker and I were sitting in a car watching this together as he submitted Ben Askren October of 2019. Ian, 33rd appearance for Damian Maia. He's headlined 6 times in the UFC, and age may just be a number, but he is a pretty big underdog here against Bilal. How do you handicap this one?
He's going to knock Bilal out into the, no, I'm kidding. Yeah. I love Bilal as a person, as a human, as everything. Look, you said it best. And I think Kenny's going to agree. Bilal is getting Damian at the best time he possibly can. Look, Bilal, as long as he doesn't get put on his back, which his wrestling is very solid, his takedown defense, the cardio, the pace, those leg kicks we saw in that last, before Leon Edwards, and I think Bilal is going to be the way better striker. I think Damian I'm very shocked this is a fight he would take at the end of his career. I would think he would want more of a Legends fight. To me, this is kind of to put over Bilal, and I think Bilal will get the win here. I don't think he's going to finish him. I think he'll grind it out. I think he'll outstrike him for sure, but this will be a good win for Bilal to get on his resume to bounce back from that Leon Edwards situation. So I got Bilal here.
I'd imagine the preparation needs to start by making sure Maia doesn't get you down and doesn't get in on that lead leg. Ken Flo, I am very excited to see how this plays out. I do think that Bilal overall for his skills, because maybe you don't see him as being super elite in any one area. I think he doesn't get credit for the overall body of work. I'm not sure if he's going to be the stronger guy on the ground. I'm not sure if he's just going to be able to pop right back up if Maia gets him down. Right. Some people think that he should be a much bigger favorite because Maia's 43 and hasn't done much of late. Dying to know how you feel about this one, Ken.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways for a guy at 43, that layoff could be a good thing to give him that rest in between fights. I'm not sure you can do camp to camp to camp like you used to when you're in your mid-20s, early 30s. So I think that's almost a good thing. But yeah, we don't know a whole lot about what Damian Maia has been doing. I'd assume he's been training. He seems like he's a true martial artist. This is an interesting fight. I think Damian Maia has the capability to submit anybody, especially if he gets on top of you. Bilal, it's very important that Bilal get off to a good start here in this fight. I think the first 7 to 8 minutes are critical here against someone like Maia. After that, I think it's pretty much smooth sailing for Bilal. That's no disrespect to Maia, but I think that Bilal is going to be the better striker here. And I think Bilal likes this matchup because I don't think he thinks Maia is going to be able to take him down. Right. I think that's where this fight begins and ends, is with this takedown, with that clinch position. And if Bilal is able to stop those takedowns from Maia, especially up against the cage, especially with those body lock style takedowns, Maia is just so clean from there. And again, he just has this ability to just shut you down completely. He gets on your back and he can submit you. However, as difficult as this is for me to pick against Maia, I do think that Bilal is in a good position here to get the win. I think his movement, his ability to counter wrestle, his ability to stay on the feet and outpoint Maia is what's going to get it done here. I don't see him finishing Maia, but I do think Bilal most likely will get a decision win here. But again, first 7-8 minutes are critical.
Yeah, no, I think you put it well. 30-foot octagon, by the way, in Arizona. Not that little comfy 25-footer coming up on that fence pretty quickly for Maia. All right, Ken Flo will have you lead here. Featured bout in the welterweight division, scheduled for 5 rounds. Leon Edwards, -500. Nate Diaz, +355. We will need the round and the method of victory, as this is a 5-rounder. And you know what? We're going to change the rules here on the main event challenge. Heretofore, anytime either Diaz brother competes, we need round, we need method of victory. These guys are the stars. They deserve that distinction. All right, +355. Juicy to some, Ken Flo. What do you think about Leon Edwards, and what do you think about Nate Diaz's chances?
This is a fascinating fight. I think that Nate Diaz is the kind of guy that will put an insane amount of pressure on you, and you need to be an excellent counter striker to have tremendous footwork as well in order to defeat a Diaz. I do think that Leon Edwards possesses that, and I also think he showed some excellent discipline as of late. Or you look over the course of his last few fights, he stays very disciplined. He doesn't, feel the pressure to go out there and just force a knockout. I think he's learned a lot from his mistakes over the years. And I think he's got the counter wrestling ability to keep it on the feet against someone like Nate Diaz. I think Nate Diaz definitely has an advantage on the ground. But that's an area that Leon has been working on a lot, especially in regards to the wrestling. So I don't see Nate being able to take him down, at least not being able to control the takedown after it. I think Leon will be okay there. But I think Leon's footwork, his striking, his counter-striking ability is going to be the difference here. I'm not sure he'll get the finish, but I do see him getting the win against Nate Diaz in what should be a very entertaining fight.
All right, Ken Flo likes Leon Edwards, and we're going to make you give us a round and a method of victory. So you can chew on that while Ian injects his opinion here. So Diaz's
by
last
decision.
Right, decision.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so Diaz's last fight, unless I'm mistaken, Ian, BMF belt, November of 2019. That came shortly after the win over Anthony Showtime Pettis, preceded, of course, by a 3-year layoff dating to the McGregor rematch. Still only 36 years old. Again, I don't worry too much about Nathan Diaz in terms of the age. Edwards on the other side is 29, of course, without a loss since that decision setback to Kamaru Usman in 2015. Huge spot for Edwards. I have said publicly he might need style points as well to get a title shot. What do you think about the featured bout, Ian, and ultimately who wins?
My biggest issue with Nate Diaz is welterweight version of Nate Diaz. He just, when he fights someone who's a true welterweight, I mean, if you go back to the Rory McDonald fight, he was ragdolled. I mean, and he seems to be physically, like strength-wise, always outmatched. Even with Masvidal, and Masvidal is not known for his physical strength at 170 either. We're talking about a guy in Nate. The layoffs don't seem to matter. You saw when he fought Pettis, the cardio's there. His striking doesn't go away. I just think Leon, what we saw against Bilal outside of the eye poke, the speed was there. The striking looked fantastic. The personality side of it, not taking accountability, that I'm going to throw out the window, although it was kind of a dick move on his end because there should have been a level of respect. It was a legit eye poke. But talk about him versus Nate. The striking is going to be a big difference. I just think that I don't think Nate's going to be able to get him down unless he gets a sweep off the cage. It's just so clever and tricky. I just think that Leon's going to be way too strong for him and physically gifted at this weight. If it was 55, I'd be saying a lot of different things. What I've seen from Nate in the past at this weight class against a true 170 guy, he gets tossed around. I don't think it's going to be any different. I think Leon does win. To Kenny's point, finishing Nate Diaz is not an easy task. If it's going to happen, I think it happens in like the 4th round, the way it was with Masvidal. And I'm going to go that way. I'm going to say Leon Edwards, TKO, round 4.
All right, Ian Parker on the record likes Edwards to get a finish late. 2 title fights are all that is left to predict here at UFC 263. We'll have IP lead the flyweight championship rematch, and then Ken Flo on the main event. Davison Figueiredo, -250. Brandon Moreno, +195. So the first meeting was UFC 256 last December, and there were some wild circumstances surrounding that fight. Both men had won 3 weeks prior, so both got right back into it, stayed in Las Vegas, and still were somehow able to go on and co-produce one of the greatest title fights in UFC history. Now they have had time to get recharged and ready. It's been about 6 months or so, Ian. How do you see this rematch playing out, and ultimately who leaves the desert as the undisputed UFC men's flyweight champion?
there's two sides of the coin here. Does the champ, is he no longer surprised by what Moreno can bring, right? Is he going to take this more seriously? And with Moreno, is he not as afraid because he handled all the power? There was so many ups and downs in this fight. I think the value here is with the challenger and Brandon Moreno. I really do. I think at plus 195, it's hard to not take a guy as scrappy, as tough, who didn't get finished, who took all the power shots from the champ, even though Davison is like literally a Marvel villain and he plays the part well. And he's an excellent fighter to watch. It's hard to lay those type of odds on him. So I'm going to take a shot on Brandon Moreno here, the babyface assassin. I love his style. I love the no-quit attitude. And again, I think he's seen what Davison can do, and now he can really train for it without having to worry about the power as much. I think that happens a lot. Guys go into this being afraid to get hit with that overhand right, the pressure. He made it through. He lived through it, and he gave him some shots. So I'm going to go Moreno by decision here.
All right, Ian Parker thinks we're getting a new champion this weekend. Kenny Florian, the floor is yours.
Geez, what a fight that first one was. I think that both men have some adjustments that they can make that can make them the victor in this fight, in this rematch. I do think a lot of people are forgetting the circumstances in which Davison Figueiredo fought. He was not feeling well at all. There was actually talk about maybe canceling the fight. Right. So I don't think we saw a Davison Figueiredo that was even close to 100%. He was probably closer to maybe 40 or 50%. Now it's easy to say that and make those excuses because Moreno fought one hell of a fight. But we saw a Davison Figueiredo that was kind of getting gassed, that seemed maybe a bit overly emotional out there and put himself out of position because of it. I think that if Moreno's able to get the fight into these grappling exchanges, that's when he can really thrive and win the fight positionally and outpoint him and maybe even get a submission. However, I do think that it's Davison Figueiredo's fight to lose. I think that this is a guy who possesses way more power. He's got more firepower and more weapons overall than Brandon Moreno. Moreno is more consistent with how he approaches his weapons and the kind of weapons that he chooses. I think his shot selection is very good. I think his grappling is very good. However, I think Davison Figueiredo is going to make those right adjustments, and I see him getting a win. Let's go with a fourth round TKO.
Fourth round TKO for Davison Figueiredo is the pick for Ken Flo. All right, main event. Florian leads here. It is also a rematch. Odds are pretty similar here per DraftKings Sportsbook. Israel Adesanya minus 250, Marvin Vettori plus 200. So the first fight, Kenny, was April of 2018. I thought it was clear for Adesanya. I know one of the judges had it for Marvin Vettori. God love you, Chris Lee. Vettori's won 5 straight since. That includes back-to-back 5-round main event victories over Jack Hermanson and Kevin Holland. Of course, Adesanya, Kenny, still undefeated at 185 pounds in mixed martial arts, but is coming off that Blachowicz loss earlier this year. Got a lot of nice things to say about both of these athletes that I'm going to save for the broadcast. Ken Flo, Adesanya, Vettori, how does Act 2 play out and who leaves the middleweight champ?
Well, I think the path to victory is pretty easy for Martin Vettori. I think he needs to go out there, stay on the outside without taking shots, be all the way out or all the way in, getting to the clinch, and just rinse, wash, repeat, take him down, get on top, see if a submission presents itself. But more than anything else, just be positionally sound, get the ground and pound going, and steal those rounds one by one. Now, can he do that? I don't see that happening. Is the guy that won his last fight, is that going to be the guy that defeats Israel Adesanya? I don't see that happening. I think that, the Kevin Holland fight, I know that Kevin can throw guys off and can kind of make things awkward a little bit. But that performance didn't do anything for me, to be honest. I don't think that Marvin Vettori is the most technical fighter. I also think he's a highly emotional guy. And I don't think that bodes well for facing a guy like Israel Adesanya, who, when he's at his best, is an absolute assassin. I think that Israel Adesanya, coming off a loss against Blachowicz, is going to be fired up and looking for something to prove. And Israel, when he fought Marvin Vettori, was a completely different fighter back then. Where if you look at Marvin Vettori, can you say that he's a completely different fighter than he was back then? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit more mature, but Technically, is he different? No. Israel Adesanya is. I see Israel Adesanya getting a win. Let's go with third round TKO, Israel Adesanya.
Woo! I love it. Ian Parker, go ahead, kid.
I just want to make sure that Marvin Vettori is not in reach of me when I talk about this.
They're not listening
because does he listen to the show? I don't know, but Kenny, you hit this on the head. Look, I personally do not even think that Marvin Vettori should be fighting for the title yet. I don't think his last two performances were title worthy. I think it should have been Robert Whittaker. I think we should have seen a Marvin Vettori versus a Derek Brunson, or the winner, or the like whatever. I just think he needed to do a little bit more, because to Kenny's point, there is one path to victory here. Do what Jan Blachowicz did. Just push forward and get Israel on the floor and don't let him up. And if he gets up, bring him back down. I think the difference too also is the size. Adesanya, I don't really think was ready to fight someone as big as Blachowicz. I think he kind of underestimated his power, his wrestling, thought that Blachowicz, was going to strike more. Jan's not a stupid guy, and he was smart. He didn't need it to be exciting. He just didn't want to lose to a middleweight and lose his belt. With Vettori, he also doesn't set up his wrestling. It's very telegraphed, and I think for Adesanya, with the team he has and the coach he has, that's probably what they're working on, is watch out for that overhand left, and watch out for the outside single, because Vettori doesn't really surprise you with that. And, for me, I think this is Israel Adesanya just needs to come into this and not worry about the storyline of the rematch. Both you guys even acknowledge it. Israel has come so far from where that was his first fight in the UFC, right? And Marvin, I don't really see, second fight. Thank you. I don't really, still a big change. I don't see with Marvin too much of a difference either. We talk about emotional, we talk about maturity, Kenny, 100% right. Emotional. Yeah. The dude, like, veins pop out of his neck if the weather is incorrect, it's like, it's cloudy. No, it's not. And, and that's how he is in the cage. I just think that, with Marvin here, it's simple. Get the fight to the ground, but it's not going to be that simple. I don't think he gets finished, though. So I'm going to go Adesanya by decision here, and I would really like to see, if that happens, Robert Whittaker get a true rematch, because I think he's the one that deserves it.
Yeah. All right. On social media, you can find him at Ian Parker MMA. He will also be part of the Premier Fighters Legion broadcast this week. The PFL returns. Just kidding. Just joking, man. It's a running joke. It's a running joke.
Kenny's the face that runs the place. I'm just the pre-show. If a fight ends early, they toss me on. That's all that is. Kenny's the head of the Premier. So that's,
Well, great stuff this week. And obviously the UFC schedule is going to be turning and burning. So we will talk to you in less than 7 days, my man. Appreciate the time.
Always sounds good. See you Thursday, Ken.
All right, bud.
Oh, I just love that you guys are just so professionally aligned. You just can't escape each other. All right. We have more on UFC 263 with our man, Joey Osborne. Let's get to the pick to click.
Time now for the pick to click. The pick to click.
All I have to do is bet on the winner, and I'll never lose.
The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast.
OddsShark is your source for the latest odds from leading authorities, expert editorial content, and detailed matchup picks with expert in-depth analysis for each game. Their free statistics, numbers, and trends will help you make the sharp picks on game day. Head over to OddsShark and start playing like a shark today. That's OddsShark.com. Don't forget the second S. And now joining us from OddsShark, of course, sports betting analyst Joe Osborne. It is great to see you. So how have you been hitting them in the NBA and the NHL playoffs, if you don't mind my asking, before we get too deep into this stuff?
NBA playoffs are going pretty good. I think I've only made one play in the NHL playoffs so far, and it hit a bit of a chicken shit play. I took the Montreal Canadiens plus 1.5 goals in Game 7 against the Leafs, and of course they ended up winning the game. So I just wanted a little bit of action, so I went a little bit safer. But NBA is going pretty good, man. Playing a little bit of everything, sides, totals, every prop imaginable. So some really good spots. And the thing I like about the playoffs is, in the NBA especially, is I'm a stat-based handicapper, right? So you can kind of depend on those stats to come through a lot more. Whereas in the regular season, motivation is questionable. You can never figure out, are the guys going to actually try their hardest? Maybe a guy's not going to get his full allotment of minutes, but everyone's going full blast in the playoffs. So you can kind of depend on the stats that you're using to handicap the games a little bit more. So far, so good. Second round, we're into it here tonight, and it looks like it's going to be an awesome ride right on through to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty well on the ice, riding the Vegas Golden Knights at home on a short price against the Avalanche. But if the New York Yankees lose on Tuesday and Wednesday, Like my daughters can forget about state school. There's going to be no college, right? Because now I'm in so deep with the Yankees having lost 3 in a row to the Red Sox, right? That if they lose Tuesday and Wednesday in Minnesota, a team they historically destroy, it's going to be a problem. I know my system gambling is flawed on the baseball front, but
fade the Yankees. Not a bad system, man. Their offense is absolutely putrid this season, isn't it? And just some pretty bad decisions, like the Giancarlo Stanton trade is blown up in their face, even though they didn't really give up much to get him. They were basically just taking on his contract. And that guy, you're just waiting for him to injure his pinky toe or get a paper cut, and he'll be up for 3 months, right? And they have no pitching after Garrett Cole. So, yeah, laundry list of reasons why the Yankees suck, but I'm happy to see it.
Yeah. All right. So we got 2 title fights this weekend. They're similarly priced. Davison Figueiredo and Israel Adesanya, both in that minus 250 range. You can get about 2-1 on the underdog payout for Marvin Vettori and Brandon Moreno. I know at this point you've started to look into the round props and everything else. What do you have for us on the title fights? I guess we'll start with the main event, Adesanya versus Vettori.
Yeah, the main event. I guess I'm going to go against the boys because I heard that they're on Adesanya, and I think there's a pretty good case for Vettori here at plus 200. I like the value on him, and we know what the path to victory is, and we saw that path to victory displayed in the 3rd round of the fight a couple of years back. Vettori had a couple takedowns, had almost 3 minutes of octagon control, and who knows if that path would have continued if it was a longer fight. It was only a 3-round fight, right? But it was swinging in Vettori's direction a little bit, and maybe a little bit of a pattern here, a small one that might be developing. Blachowicz, from the 3rd round on in his fight versus Adesanya, that's where he really started to lay it on with the takedowns and octagon control. So maybe something if Vettori can extend the fight. He's never been finished, by the way, so that's kind of why I do like him. So I think the longer the fight goes, it will go in Vettori's favor. I do like that he's coming off a fight where he had 11 takedowns. Now, I know a lot of people might dismiss and say, well, Kevin Holland, his takedown defense stinks. But I think that's only going to give Vettori more confidence to kind of get in Adesanya's face, make it dirty, make him wrestle. So I don't mind taking a shot on him here at plus 200 odds.
And then as far as the flyweights are concerned, and I do think there are going to be plenty of sharp cappers out there that are aligned with you on Vettori. But in terms of this flyweight title fight, Ken Flo brought up something that I forgot about, which was Davison Figueiredo's health in those hours leading up to that fight. So I think to dismiss that circumstance from your handicapping would be ignorant. But all of that being said, I think Moreno's got a great chance to win. With that, I'll lay out and hear what you have to say on Figueiredo and Moreno take 2.
Yeah, I'll take Figueiredo inside the distance plus 165. I like that quite a bit at plus money. And a lot of it's guessing here, right? Because we know the story of the fight. It was a 3-week gap in between fights for each guy. And now it's a 6-month gap. And I think the longer gap is going to favor the champion because, as we know, he has that crazy weight cut. And I think maybe he underestimated Moreno, or at the very least was surprised by him in the opening rounds. He hit him with some wild shots that would have dropped a lesser man, but Moreno, his toughness was on full display. Maybe a case for him being one of the top pound for pound tough guys in the UFC right now. So, but my question is, can that toughness be displayed in consecutive fights? It was almost a perfect fight for Moreno. He looked fantastic with some of those takedowns. So can he do that in consecutive fights versus the guy who I think is one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the UFC? My guess is no. And I'm going to go with the guy who has an 85% finish rate in his 20 career wins. He came into that fight 4 consecutive finishes, 3 of which took place in the first round. So I like Figueiredo to come in here with maybe a little bit of a better game plan and be a little bit better prepared and have some more realistic expectations of his opponent here. And I like him to finish the job here on Saturday.
Joe, Nate Diaz taking on Leon Edwards. Edwards, a huge favorite here. Is there any kind of bet that you're looking here for this fight?
Yeah, so this is a 5-round fight, right? Kind of unique and kind of a funny matchmaking, which I'll get to here. But I think there's a pretty good case for this fight to be finished inside the distance at plus 105, with it being a 5-round fight. So both of these guys have been decision machines, right? If you look up and down their resumes. But I don't think Nate can last 5 rounds with a guy who looked pretty sharp and pretty aggressive in his most recent fight versus Bilal Muhammad. I believe he was on his way to finishing that one. Of course, it had the unfortunate ending, but Nate, he hasn't fought for over a year and a half now, and he didn't look good in that BMF fight versus Jorge Masvidal. He was on the wrong end of 112 significant strikes, was cut open, doctor stoppage, which is one thing that you also had to keep in mind for this big 5-round fight. Nate gets cut open pretty easily here, so there is that possibility that that happens again. Now we have to consider the position that Leon Edwards is in here. And that's why I said it's maybe unusual matchmaking, but I think this is an incredible showcase spot for Leon Edwards, who's had some really bad luck over the past couple of years with injuries and people pulling out, himself needing to pull out. But this is an incredible showcase spot for him versus a big name where if he can have an impressive stoppage victory, that's going to put him directly in line for a title shot. Now, I know a lot of people are saying Colby Covington is the guy. I think Dana White's been on record of saying that, but nothing's official yet. Right. Kamaru Usman, he's been on the record saying Colby doesn't deserve it. And he's throwing out a couple different names there. So if Edwards comes out and puts it on Diaz, a pretty big name in the sport, and finishes the guy, I could see Kamaru Usman campaigning for that fight to take place. So it's a showcase spot for Edwards. So from a matchmaking perspective, maybe that has something to do with why they put it together. But interesting spot for Edwards. I do think he can put it away. And also, Diaz, he surprised us before, right? I don't think he's going to do it, but he could do it here. And either guy can win as long as it gets finished inside the distance. Plus money, plus 105. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And that plus 105, I think, is juicy. And of course, because both have been to a lot of decisions, maybe that's why you're getting plus money. But yeah, I think you have to factor Diaz's history into the equation. And yeah, man, any welterweight surviving 25 minutes with Leon Edwards right now sounds like a tall task. So I don't disagree with a lot of that sentiment. I was actually reading your tweets at JTFOZ while we were on the air.
Yes,
what time does this stupid fucking boxing match start on Sunday night? I know you didn't cuss, but that was the gist of the tweet. Just fucking gold out of you on social media. On Instagram, it's at Paper Chaser Joe. And as I understand it, you have children back at school today or daycare. So I'm glad that they are out of your hair.
Yeah,
I know you were in deep for a few weeks there, my man.
Yeah, the 2 boys are back at daycare for the first time. They were home for 6 weeks. I'm up in Canada here, and where I live, there was some lockdowns, and you still could send your kids to daycare, but it was a situation where they need to wear a mask and a bunch of nonsense like that. So, yeah, it was a very challenging 6 weeks to have a couple little kids home and trying to do your work at the same time. But the boys are back, and much different vibe around the household here today. And for that boxing match last night, I don't mean to be an asshole when I say this, but I literally did fall asleep, guys, during the fight. I know people joke about that type of thing. I'm out here on the East Coast, so it was kind of late on a Sunday night. But I literally did, I saw the guys make their entrances and took forever. For some reason, they do the national anthem right before the main event, of course. And I fell asleep and I woke up and I saw them hugging each other. And eventually, Mayweather was given.
Right.
Did he get an official win? It was a sparring match.
No judges.
So, no decision. Yeah.
It was an exhibition.
So, kind of crazy, but yeah, I'll look forward to Paul versus Woodley. Should be more interesting than Paul versus Askren. That's for sure.
It had me thinking about the greatest preseason wins in Patriots history. Remember that spring training win for the Red Sox years ago? Grapefruit League action.
There's some spots in NFL preseason. The Baltimore Ravens are money against the spread in the NFL pre. So keep that in mind. I'll remind you guys of that when we get there in a couple of weeks, right?
All right. OddsShark's Joe Osborne. Guys and bets every morning on the website. Great stuff, my man. We'll talk to you in a few weeks.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. Good luck to you guys, and good luck to all the listeners out there.
Thank you, man. UFC 263. About 5 sleeps now, folks. Live on pay-per-view. Kemflo, you got a live event on ESPN 2 Thursday night. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
So I take off tomorrow, and
There you go. Where are you going? Where are you going?
Atlantic City. Atlantic
so
City.
You're going back to Atlantic City, New Jersey. Any gambling going on there or no?
Not for me, man.
Okay,
I'm not the best gambler.
He's just buying Bitcoin at whatever price.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a good price right now.
Yeah, not too bad. I've been buying the dip here and there.
There we go.
Just don't have a lot of money with which to buy the dip. AnikFlorianPodcast.com is the website if you would like hats like the one I'm wearing or the Ray Longo t-shirts or anything else. Don't Text and Drive t-shirts are up as well, not selling as well as the Ray Longo t-shirts, incidentally. Also, don't forget FloatTube, Ken Flo's YouTube channel. We're calling it FloatTube now. Fucking FloatTube is Kenny Florian's YouTube channel. A lot of jiu-jitsu videos, a lot of good stuff. The play-by-play, ignorant play-by-play guys like me should be watching more than we are. Don't forget Flo on the PFL Thursday night. And, of course, we will be with you Friday and Saturday for all the UFC coverage you can handle, bro. Thanks to our guests, Dean Thomas, Ray Longo, Ian Parker, Joe Osborne, the executive producer. The lifeblood of the show is Cody Merrill. With that, for Ken Flo, I'm John Anik saying, go Bees, don't text and drive. Pat Militich, we got to get a cup of coffee, man. As long as you wear a mask. Yo.
Oh.